Good evening, everyone. It's now 6:34. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Will you please stand, if possible, and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Andrew Benson. Here. Katrina Binkowitz. Here. Doug King.
Here.
Joseph Wetmore. Edward Levine.
Here. Okay, so first order of business is the resolution honoring Marcia Herrick as one of our 2019 volunteers of the year.
You so move?
I'll second.
Yes, Marcia. Andrew Benson. Yes. Katrina Binkowitz. Yes. Doug King.
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore.
Yes.
Edward Levine.
Yes. So the resolution is as follows. This resolution is to honor Marcia Herrick, 2019 Lansing Volunteer of the Year. Whereas Marcia Herrick has been a member of the Lansing Center Trail Committee since 2011. And whereas the Town Center Trail in Lansing needs to be mowed 1 to 2 times weekly through the growing season for optimal use by the town residents. And whereas Marcia Herrick used her own mower to mow the center trails for the first 3 years and kept them in such good condition that trail use increased exponentially over that time.
It's true.
And whereas Marcia Herrick has mowed the center trails for a total of 8 years from May through October. And whereas Marcia Herrick recognized that there was a need for a scoops trail to connect the town center trails to the corner property. And whereas the scoops trail and bridge project team was spearheaded by Marcia Herrick. And whereas Ruth and Roger Hopkins have nominated Marcia Herrick for the 2019 Lansing Volunteer of the Year Award. And whereas, upon a review and discussion of the matter, the Town Board of the Town of Lansing has hereby resolved that Marcia Herrick's commitment, dedication, and service to our community is recognized and names her as a 2019 Lansing Volunteer of the Year. So your friends would like to come over and join in all the photo ops?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to do one this way. We're going to do one this way first.
Okay, make believe you're happy I'm doing this.
Yes. Harry.
I need somebody on my
This way, Maureen, you're behind someone's. I should just see your hair. Yeah, that's cool. But now I can't see who's, is that Sue?
Oh, no.
All right. And, all right. Now, everyone, just kind of make believe you're happy that we're doing this. Yeah, it's like the kids say, Mom. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you prepare a speech, Marcia?
What?
Did you prepare a speech?
I did not, but I do want to say, first of all, I've never spoken in front of anybody in my life. Our friends, I know, but I just want to say that I'm honored and humbled, but this would not have happened without my Lansing Center Trail members. We're small, but we're mighty. Honestly, and Pat and his crew have pulled me out of work. So I thank all of you, and I think that this trail is something that this town should be very proud of, and I think it's well used, and it's kind of a sanctuary, and I'm proud to be part of it. So I thank all of you.
Thank you.
Okay, so, item number 5, resolution honoring Doris Straw, 2019 Volunteer of the Year.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Andrew Benson.
Yes.
Katrina Binkowitz.
Yes.
Doug Dave.
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore.
Yes.
Edward Levine.
Yes.
I'd like to read this resolution honoring another worthy Lansing Volunteer of the Year. Whereas Doris Straw has been a trusted, active volunteer at Myers Park since 2015. Whereas Doris Straw designs and plants the flower gardens at Myers Park yearly. Whereas Doris Straw weeds and maintains said gardens weekly through the season, and also undertakes additional duties as needed when the recreation department is short-staffed during the season, such as errands, cleaning park bathrooms, etc. And whereas Katrina Binkowitz has nominated Doris Straw for 2019 Lansing Volunteer of the Year Award, and whereas upon a review and discussion of the matter, the town board of the town of Lansing has hereby resolved that Doris Straw's commitment, dedication, and service to our community is recognized and names her as a 2019 Lansing Volunteer of the Year. Would you like your husband in the picture too?
Well, he's the one happy into it.
The crew, everybody, let's do it over here. We're ready to see you. You hold it.
Well, you're the remember.
No.
Okay, fellas have to crunch
This
in.
way.
Crunch.
Crunch.
Try to crunch, yes. I had more room when we were at the other one.
Take a step back, it won't help.
Right.
I'm talking about the crap.
Oh, no, we're good. Okay, everyone. Once again, I mean, geez, Marcia went first, so you know what you're in for here. Thank you.
Gloria Cochran helped her the first year and a half, so we had assist. I couldn't run without her.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, next item on our agenda is approval of the floor. This is a limit of 20 minutes with a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker.
Last night, no one had signed up.
Okay? Does anyone who has not signed up want to take advantage of approval of the floor? Going once? Going twice? Okay, moving on. Item 7, Lansing Community Library Report. It is presented by Christine Eisenbach. It's in your packet. Item 8.
Could I just point out one thing I was reading in the report? There is a fundraiser coming up on December 6th,
Please.
December 7th. And this is one way the library raises funds. And it's a beautiful artisan fair, and most of the artisans are local. And it's a way to do a little early Christmas shopping, or maybe late after Black Friday Christmas shopping. It'd be nice if everybody could support it.
Okay. Good. Nothing else? We'll move on to item 8, which is the Lansing Youth Service Report. This also is in your packet. Number 9 is Mike Sigler. He had another event to go to. He will be here around 7:30. There's some important stuff to discuss with him besides the report. So I'd like to postpone that until about 45 minutes from now. Brings us to item 10, which is Pat Terrell, Park and Recreation.
Good evening. How are you? Obviously, you've all read this. I'm going to move something to the top of my list that isn't on the agenda or in my report. The camera issue for Myers Park and the Highway Department. You all got the packet. I sent an email last week. Unfortunately, we had no break-in last night in the shop. It's been an ongoing occurrence, so I'd like to kind of move this to the forefront and hopefully have you allocate some money to get this project moving forward.
Sounds like a
Please.
plan.
Any questions for Pat?
Can you give me a brief overview? I've been out of town for a little while. I saw it
Sure.
briefly, but just a brief, how much are we talking about?
So roughly $30,000, give or take, for the highway department and Myers Park that would do cameras and upgrade some of the Wi-Fi, which we have to do in the park to get camera capability in several spots. So
And this would beam it all back centrally here?
it would beam it back to a central location in the park, which we could view, myself or Cricket could view on our phones from time to time and check in on it that way if we wanted to. It would also be backed up on a hard drive.
What was the loss of the shop?
The only thing we lost was an older reciprocating saw, so it wasn't, luckily, I mean, it was best case scenario. We didn't lose anything too spectacular. Luckily, the day before, the guys took all of our power tools and everything that was important out of the shop, so we got really lucky.
Wow.
What was the first time?
The first couple of times was the admission building at the front and the boat launch also.
And things stolen or vandalized?
Vandalized and a few dollars stolen.
There's other concerns we're trying to address down there also. Certain behavior that is becomes a threat to innocent people down there.
Right.
So I would,
Like what?
syringes being found. Someone actually got poked accidentally, a child,
Stepped on it or something?
Yep. On the beach. So I think this is something that would warrant us moving on this sooner than later. The price, you've done the due diligence, you've gone through the prevailing wage
Several.
calculations, and the price is approximately, you said 30,000?
Yep.
How many cameras?
Well, my notes in front, I think it's roughly 11 at the park, between 7 and 11, and then I think
7 at the highway.
7 at the highway.
Now, keep in mind, we had concerns over at the highway, and so this sounds also factoring, you're going to move the Wi-Fi down there too, right?
Right, correct.
So the campers will be able to benefit from
Yeah.
that. Not that that's the main reason, but we try to pile on as many positives as we can about this.
Sure.
Are there any cameras at the Parks and Rec building?
There'll be one that can monitor who goes in and out of that direction.
I think it's money well spent. I really do. I think we have to do it.
How much of the highway area is going to be covered if it's,
Basically the whole area around the highway department.
so even the ones
Their
across the
pipe-
street?
Yeah, the pipe yard, anyone that goes in and out either direction on either end of the barn is covered.
I would say officially every inch,
Every inch.
because I'm not going to tell you where it's not covered. And the key's under the mat, by the way, and the code for the security is 12895.
What happened at the highway stores?
I believe theft of some materials.
So I think we should, sounds like we have a consensus to move forward and allocate this money sooner than later, and up to $30,000.
Up to 30.
Okay. Now, this system can be added on in case you need to have more cameras?
Yes, it can.
And just in case more areas?
Yes. Yeah.
Or in case we have to do it eventually around here for visual security?
This will be a separate entity in itself, but yes, you can obviously add that on anytime.
So anybody want to make a motion towards that? I will.
I'll second it.
I would question, only, are we taking this all out of the A fund, or some of this coming out of the highway department, fund balance? Where's the money coming from? Since we're splitting between the parks and the highway, department, how's that split happening?
Well, I guess you could do the ratio between the A and the DA. And how many cameras approximately?
Roughly 17.
Would you use them, let's say this for giggles, it's 18, would you use them equally, or would you use more of a percent?
No, I mean, they'll all be covering a significant area that's important, obviously. So,
Subject. So why don't we just say 50/50 then? Unless there's a clean break with St. G's, 2/3 of the cameras are down there and 1/3 over the highway.
if it's security town-wide, is it, I don't know. I'm just asking.
Well, that's
throwing
really
that
the
out.
point.
I would think it would just generally be an A fund.
That's, yeah, you could even say it's technology and just take it from A fund.
That's true. This looks like it'd be an A fund. Okay.
Do these cameras record?
Yes.
Because if someone steals the camera, they can.
Yeah, so we can change the time recorded. Right now, I think we're at 30 days is what we can kind of set the bar at.
They send back to a computer or something?
Yes, to a hard drive, yeah.
Okay, so looks like we come out the A fund for up to 30,000. Any other discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you're saying the A fund, is there a specific account number that we need, or will Charmaine automatically know where this needs to come out of? Pardon? Is that where she knows? I don't know, that's why I'm asking. Because she may ask that tomorrow.
I don't know if there's a line with that much in it right now.
Well, if you go technology, I believe it's 1610 400 off the top of my head, but
That's where we
budget
got
mod, and you have to do a budget mod to put some in there, probably.
correct.
And when would the bill be due for this?
Not until I say, yeah or nay, go forward with the project. Obviously, I think might split 50/50, but I'm not positive on
I
that.
guess my point is that when would the bill be due before our next meeting?
No.
All right, so at that point, we can do the budget mod, move the money into a certain, and we'll have enough time to do that.
Yeah.
And it should probably go into technology.
Okay.
And then we have that specific 1610. I don't have my.
Quote me 100, I don't have a budget in front of me, but I'm pretty sure it's 1610.400.
But we have to authorize him to spend the money before we can go out and spend it.
Correct.
Correct.
Well, that's what the motion is
Yeah,
for.
okay, so why does the motion just say that it comes out of the fund balance and goes into the technology fund, and then that's all set, and we can look up the number here.
Then we don't have to go do the budget mod.
Right.
Yeah, that's fine, either way. As long as you're allowed to do what you can as fast as you can. So it's up to the council, the rest is just fine tuning.
This is the shop.
1610,400.
There you go.
You got it? Good.
Okay. So 1610,400. Allocating up to 30,000 in the A fund.
Unreserved fund balance.
And the account number for that is A 1610-400. Are you talking about two different account numbers? I'm not
No.
sure. Just the
No.
one?
Yeah,
Okay.
it goes into the 1610,400, and it's coming out of unreserved fund balance.
Okay.
Just quickly checking with Cricket, do you have any thoughts or comments, or?
No, we're good. I mean, like I said, Pat, I mean, we just got to be appraised of the whole process of, what the options have been to people and stuff, and I'm confident that, he was looking at it as a good problem. Yeah, I think it's long overdue.
Okay. You can have time?
Yeah, would you like me to restate sort of what it's going to say. So Doug made the motion to authorize Pat to purchase approximately 17 cameras for the park and the highway to increase security, up to 30,000. Did I say that already? And Andrew made the second. Does that sound like you covered it? And it's gonna-
Cameras and Wi-Fi upgrade.
camera and Wi-Fi, okay.
Rather than Wi-Fi, how I just put it on upgrade.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, and I have the account numbers down here. I'll put it there also. Is this all
Thank you.
that's covered? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. Just one thing, trunk or treat, unfortunately it was a wet night, but there was a lot of volunteer effort that went into that. They did a great job even though it was a monsoon somewhat.
It was a rough night.
Unfortunately, I don't remember I think they had about 400 kids come through early on, so I mean, they put a lot of work into it, and I feel bad that we had to go to a backup location, but it did work. Hopefully next year we have some lights in the park and we can maybe move it down there. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for that grant.
We'll find out, what, second week in December?
Yes.
Weather's always the issue for your events.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Anything else, Patrick?
That's it.
Thank you, by the way, for doing such a great job this year in transition with the whole new team.
Thank you.
Owen. And you can thank the czar for us also. That's Jenna's nickname now. You know you're in, you can get a nickname. Okay? They all have them, so.
Well, it's thanks to a great team. I couldn't.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, but they all, this team just jumped in with both feet, and like I said, it's such a smooth transition. Let's put it that way. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 11 is Highway Superintendent Report. Okay.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Just to start off, I'd certainly like to take a minute just to congratulate Marcia Herrick, Doris Straw. I mean, folks like that in our community are one-of-a-kind sort of people, and I think it's great for the board to recognize them for their efforts, and I'd just like to thank them also. So, anyways, moving along. We swung into a little winter weather last week, unfortunately. Obviously, I know you've all seen a few budget mods roll through already. Probably expect a couple more, depending on the weather. Unfortunately with the DA, because last winter we were left a little short at the end to begin with, but hopefully if we can struggle through here another month, we won't be too bad. Just with that being said, the creek project's kind of on hold there until spring with that. There's obviously a resolution that I know you probably all saw a little bit late. My bad, WL at me. But it's kind of it was all approved in the budget, so it's not anything extra, so if there's any questions on that or whatever, but it's just something to get some things ordered in there to get them in the cycle. Because another month out could mean 3 months on the other side of it. So if there's any questions on that, happy to answer that, but other than that, I guess we're North Kirkhammer Road water line, with the exception of restoration work. That'll actually all be in service tomorrow. Coronation was finished up today, so not an easy project there, but thanks to the guys that busted their hump on it, and we got that done. And hopefully that'll cure some overtime on the other side, when it's unwanted overtime. How's that? So. Other than that, that's kind of all I got. Anybody's got any questions?
We're going to have, I have a few moments of clarity, I think, with the road dedication. I had a question. You're okay with the Louisa Bennett Road dedication? I think that's in here tonight.
Correct.
One thing I did, either I got an answer, perhaps I didn't get the full answer from Dave Herrick. Did he sign off on it also?
To my knowledge, I haven't heard from him that he had any issues. I mean, it was You know, obviously the utilities stuff's all been great. The only thing we might have, sidewalk stuff, I don't know. You know, I know CJ and Ed, and I think we passed that around in an email a little bit as far as we talked about how this other piece of sidewalk may come together, just kind of, you know, responsibilities, liabilities of the town and such. So I guess that's something I would defer to Guy, is if, as far as part of that dedication, if there's any issue, obviously we're taking dedication of that piece of sidewalk, which means, you know, obviously, you know, we'll be maintaining it. I just like to say defer to him if there's any issue that we should be aware of on the other side, you know, as far
So you're
as.
making reference to the one that goes parallel to Auburn Road, that one?
Well, I'm making reference to the one that kind of already part and parcel was part of the first part of
Yes.
the Lisbon Lane.
Yes.
So, I mean, eventually we'll get into cars, but like I said, this is a little different territory for us moving forward. Like I said, talking with CJ and stuff, as far as putting together some policy or, you know, rules, regulations, whatever, you know, moving forward on sidewalk maintenance, repair, whatever, so.
Yeah, this basically is our first sidewalk, isn't it?
Well, yeah,
New territory.
all 400 feet of it.
I'm sure we'll be looking for a budget amount or something for a piece of equipment to be taking care of this, don't we, Tom?
Well, at this point, I mean, Pat's graciously volunteered all into the snow blower, so.
Way to go, Owen! Is that what they call voluntold?
So no, like I said, so I mean, as far as from my aspect, you know, the construction of the road, you know, was, job well done, some days everything was good, blacktop's good,
Okay.
no issues from my end. Utilities, you know, from our end is all good aspect, like I said, just, you know, the sidewalks, just something we're gonna be working on navigating through as far as getting some sort of policies and stuff in place, just so, to make sure our pedestrian traffic and stuff is, you know, protected as far as, you know, safety wise.
Is there a date for the dedication of
What's that?
the road? Is there a date for the dedication of the road?
I think you're at about 3
I don't-
items. Like I said, you know, there again, Andre, I mean, that was,
I guess I
it's
read
been one of the things that's
didn't see
been,
a
it's
date.
been in and out of the cycle for the last couple months. So like I said, it was just,
Well, in all fairness, I thought it was already dedicated myself. I saw this again, I go,
well, yeah, so we did the first piece to get him to Robin's Way, and now this is kind of for the rest of the part and parcel, but.
we dedicated, I think, the first part, except with the top coat, right, remember that?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
so in all fairness to you, you're not imagining this, that we did
Right.
dedicate part of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not being redundant again.
Right,
Oh.
so, but yes, from my end of it, you know, everything's good, you know, so.
Well, I think the one concern I have is, as Dave Hedrick signed off on this, and, you know, having not heard from him, doesn't feel like it's a signing off, and since the resolution does say that he signed off on it, I'd like to know that for a fact. Well, the resolution says it, but I heard you say you're not sure, I heard Ed say he's not sure.
Yes, I mean, in my conversation with Dave today, there's no issue from his end, there was,
He said there's no issue.
correct.
Okay,
So,
that's different than you
Yes.
didn't hear anything.
yes,
I spoke with him yesterday morning about, we looked at the as-built drawing as well, so we went all the way to the end, and so we reviewed the as-built drawing, and he was satisfied with it.
Okay.
Good. I guess we're good.
all right, thanks, folks.
Okay, next item is the DOT concern. And I believe we're making reference to the bridges. We're making reference, is that why you're here?
Debbie is.
Okay.
That's this.
Yes. Yes, it is about the bridges. Okay, so we have an update on this. Let me give you a little background as things have been going back and forth as this developed. Percy, Crooker's brother, who's also the fire chief, he lives down in Ludlow. He goes down and to go home one night, recently, I think 2 nights ago, whatever, and it says limits of X amount of tons on the Ludlow Road now. And he's concerned about that. It's 12 tons. He's concerned about that, how you get emergency fire equipment over there, because the pumper engine is roughly 27 tons, the pumper tanker is 35 tons, the heavy rescue is 31 tons, and the ladder truck is 38 tons. So we reached out to Mike Sigler about this. In fact, first he came to my office and we called him, and he reached out to the county, because it's a county bridge. And
Is that kind of, you're talking about the one above though?
yes, yep. And anyways, long story short, is that the response was that if you have an emergency, you can use that bridge. Just stay in the middle of it. Now, there is no timetable to get that one done, like the one I posted on Facebook that came from the NY Dot website, where that one is. I think they're going to start that one in the fall of 2021, hopefully finish at the end of 2022. That's for the one at 34B. So this other one, like Percy says, I don't mind taking the long way home to save the bridge, but I need to know, for instance, like you're on the other side of this, and the amount of minutes is like a 12-minute difference.
It's a big difference, yeah.
And especially when you have a fire. So having said all that, we're trying to address this concern as best we can, but through the emails they asked them, is there a definitive timetable for the county bridge, and they don't know yet.
They were telling me at the meeting that they were going to start it this spring. Has that changed? Because I was talking to DOT and they headed the county highway department at that meeting, and they were saying spring.
Well, you keep talking, Joe, for one more minute. I'll find my emails here.
Yep, I hear you. This has been a moving target for a while now.
So, like I said, Percy was very concerned about that. We have a letter of record sharing those concerns, and as they're going through my emails here, pardon me, I'll read this real quick. So it says, can you ask, it says, so Percy asked, can you give me a timetable? And there is no timetable on here as far as when it's going to be.
And that was asked by who?
By Percy
To who?
to Jeff Smith, who's the his counterpart at the county.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, I'll add to that. I did get a call today from, I can't remember his first name, Weber. He's with the engineering department of the county, and obviously they're looking at, like, I had questions on temporary water line and stuff that, you know, it's kind of all been in the mix, but it seems to me like, for some reason, there's been a sense of urgency to try to push forward. So the interpretation I kind of get from him today is as soon as the weather breaks in the spring, this Ludlow Bridge is going to go, because his urgency seemed to be is we've got to get ahead of the DOT bridge. So
That's what I've been pushing, is we don't want both bridges out at the
Correct.
same time.
right. I told that 5 years ago they were going to replace Ludlow from the start. So maybe in the next 5 years we'll get something.
They forgot.
So to Mike Sigler's credit, at least when I reached out to him Tuesday, we got an answer immediately. Accurate information, of course that information will always change. But that's where we are now. As you know, when we had this presentation here of the DOT 2 years ago, I think, they're going to finish this one up in 2019, functionally be done in 2019, and then finish it up the next year completely. They're going to add 6 feet of shoulders on both sides, blah, 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 and that's what was the impetus for us to get the stormwater drains in and everything for Myers and Whiteham. So we'll just have to adjust as we go, but it would be tragic if both of those bridges were done at the same time.
I have a question about the DOT bridge. On your post, you said that the old bridge would not be knocked down before the new one was finished, which implies an adjacent? I thought they were knocking it down.
No, I apologize if that was the implication. My understanding is they are going to knock down I'll call it the 34B bridge.
Yeah, completely.
And they're going to start that in the fall of 2021, and I hope to have that completed, meaning that the new one put back up.
Okay.
So they're going to knock the old one down, and then obviously put the new one in its place by the end of 2022.
Same exact.
Yeah, that was, to be honest, that was one of the options of going, but then they'd have to go through All Saints parking lot basically and take out a house, and if they're going to build an adjacent one, then take the one down. I also understand, and CJ, you can maybe give us a little more detail, there is an environmental window to demo this, I think it's in February, if I'm not mistaken.
Because of the stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't want to knock it down, they want to pick it up and take it off, which is quite a process.
Yeah, and so DOT did talk yesterday at ITCTC, the transportation folks, and their take on it was the bridge assessment is underway because they're trying to determine what deficiencies there are with the steel on the bridge, and they're trying to debate how much they want to spend on a bridge that's going to be torn down in a year, right? So they said it was one of the worst of the 600 bridges that the state owns. And then the replacement project is $20 million, but there's some debate about that in terms of it being kind of a secondary system as they see it. So, but their goal is to do this so that both bridges are not out of commission. The Ludlow Bridge they're repairing it enough to hold it until spring 2021, was what I was told yesterday morning. So, yeah.
Okay. Rick, do you want to add anything to that?
It's time out. I didn't even know about this letter until I just read it.
Okay.
It is a concern in the fire service.
Sure.
I'm just amazed how heavy these machines are.
School buses are more than 20 tons.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Well, schools are already driving around the Ludlow Bridge.
Oh, yeah, the buses, when they put up the sign for 9 ton, they decided.
Well, I had my guys also did note that it is pretty tight in Ludlow, or in Myers, when the town law meets the state law. So, just FYI, so I mean, everybody in, Myers should be happy because there should be plenty of snowplows through the area all hours of the day now. So.
We got 6 trucks, this is fantastic.
But yeah, so I mean, just so folks are aware, they certainly will be seeing the state DOT probably in Myers for the winter also. They have a small one-ton truck that's maintaining the bridge at this point, so.
I know we always have this actual tonnage, but I was told years ago that there's also a different limit on top of that tonnage. Maybe I was misled.
Well, I figured if you have a two-lane bridge and it's 18 ton, that means it's really good for 36. Just saying.
But it's a one-lane bridge at 18.
No, so I think that was the response that I was referring to, that Scott got back from Chestnut County was, so like, the Ludlow Bridge has been lowered to 12 ton, but they had their structural people issue, that says it's okay for emergency apparatus, basically just, kind of use this precaution when you go across it. I know we also reached out on the question as far as Red Bridge, that's a little bit different structured bridge, so they're working with their structural people on that to get an answer to get that kind of so-called waiver, because obviously, the fire department, or us, the town, whatever, doesn't want to be on the hook, like, to go across it. Oh yeah, it's great to go across it without any formal documentation if something happens. Well, we didn't say that. So I know they're working on that, because that seems to be, I think, almost like, he was even referred to like the Freeze Road Bridge, and, where Barnum, there's issues with that, but emergency-wise, I can't remember, he told me what the weight was, that they weren't able to use that for access.
I rated it 20 ton when I was by it the last time.
Right, so I know the county is there, the light bulb kind of went off for them, not really, I guess, anybody thinking in terms of like, oh hey, if we're changing these things with bridges and stuff like that, we really do need to reach out to the local emergency services, so understand, like I said, in the instance if, for instance, him or one of the other officers of the department or something, that live on the highway, you know, might not realize that all of a sudden there's something, and, you know, 3 trucks go across at midnight at night, yet something happens, like, wow, well, nobody told us it's been lowered, so. So I think some good communication came out of it, where I think moving forward, I think it's positive for all of us, so.
I don't mean to throw another stone in, but what is ever gonna happen with the Doug Bridge?
Well, according to this email, is that the garbage, they have a dumpster on the other side, so that they walk across the bridge and put it in the dumpster. If, according to Percy, if there's a fire, you'd have a firefighter down there with a fire extinguisher. It's an email, I think, here. But there's no way, unless you want to run a hose across it, there's a hydrant down there.
We now have a portable water tank. We could add that to the extinguisher.
350 gallons. Keep a change of clothes and just get out as fast as you can and make sure that your animal's off the good.
Make sure your insurance is paid.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's very sobering when you think of that. That's the best it's going to be.
Yeah.
And you know more about this than I do as far as
We have a game plan, but we know how game plans work.
Moving on to, before I get to CJ, I wanted to just plant a seed for the town board that one of the things that we talked about is talk about prevention of fires, is the sprinkler system for the highway barns. So that's something that we'll probably discuss sooner than later. Because, once again, the resolution here is to get this truck in 14 months to get 8 trucks, rather than trying to get 5 trucks, 6 trucks. Okay, so that's something that we'll be discussing probably sooner than later. So, on that note, CJ? That bill is going to be about $100,000. Hi.
Good evening. Would you like me to start about the piece regarding the highway department building? We could segue into that. So it's towards sort of the end of the report, but we've been working with Gary Bush, as you may be familiar, authorized some time ago to prepare a needs assessment essentially for the highway department. And last Friday, we all met at Highway and walked around quite a bit. There was actually some commentary on the equipment that is outside, including parts that I don't know if those were the ones that have been taken. But we all spoke about the space needs and the updates that the town highway building needs. And so we'll be meeting again tomorrow, on Friday, again, to review he also, Mr. Bush prepared some initial renderings of what it would look like, the addition. And so we're still trying to figure out the space needs piece. But so our intention is also to coordinate with the Tompkins County Business Energy Advisors, because there may be some incentives as far as the heating and cooling load goes that we can bring into this mix as well. And that evaluation is at no cost to the municipality. So that seems like a real win to be able to take Gary's needs assessments and what Cricket needs for highway and kind of bring those together and see what kind of incentives we can get when that starts to move along. So hopefully we'll have some solid numbers soon. Some of the initial conversations I've had with Code Enforcement Officer Lynn Day have been about the sprinklers and his concern about that building and just the changes, what changes are made to the building will have code impacts. So he's involved in this as well and in the review of the plan. So we'll keep you updated. It's really just in its beginning stages now, as they know from trying to get Gary to move along. So I think we've managed to do that. And so following up highway related, speaking with DOT yesterday at the ITCTC meeting, they did say that this and next winter their snow and ice will be out of their existing residency in Portland, and they're expecting to move in to the new facility on Warren Road in spring or summer of 2021. I know they're putting it out to bid now, and I believe they're working with OGS to get their building permits, but Lynn and I have also been corresponding with them about, just being in touch about any potential code issues and things like that. We actually saw that they had put the notice out to bid and wanted to know how they were planning on administering their own building permits, which they have the right to do, but we just thought it was courteous to kind of have a dialogue back and forth. And so also, a side note, you received something of a panicked email from our code clerk, Sue Munson, who I think is growing increasingly frustrated with the scanning mechanism in our existing copier. We're doing an incredible volume of catching up the backlog of scanning building permits. We've been really fortunate to have assistance from the county clerks, from Mo and Alana. They've come in and given us some workflows that they've set up for us in Laserfiche, which is really nice. So it automates a bunch of tasks, which is really fantastic. But we are starting to tackle the 60 boxes that are in this little plan room over there. Those are all the discretionary approvals going back, some decades. And so we're essentially trying to figure out how to implement that. Now, the scanner piece, there's no need to act on that immediately. I actually just heard back from Mo today that there are, and thanks to Deb for reporting that as well, that they're planning on applying for yet another grant to the archives to do more scanning. So in essence, let's figure out what we can do with their resources for now. Let's see kind of what they intend to apply for January. And then I should have a clearer answer next month about the scanner that was recommended and whether we should get that or whether we could just go ahead and kind of foist it off on the county clerks and have them help us with that. That's reasonable? And if you have any questions about it, of course, I'm happy to answer those.
So getting to the scanner, one of the things we're finding, and maybe definitely also leads to this, is that there's a tremendous load on our copier. It throws the copier off, and these copiers are cheap. So if you're going to, I think it threw off the copying ability, it slows it down, it jams it, and for this amount of money, it seems that you're going to have a longer life of the copier, amongst other things. Plus, you're going to be centrally located in that office, so you don't have to fight for copy space. If you ever know us, when we get busy sometimes, you have to wait in line for your copy to come out. And then you wonder if they come out, then you may send it again. Next thing you know, you got two. So, anyways, it's just a way to be more efficient, as our departments all are very busy.
Yeah, and it's also, there's the game we play of hold off on printing for a minute. I have to use the special paper. We have a fun, little dance regarding that. But let me see what we can do with the county clerks. They're really excellent. They're a great resource, and so. We're still gathering more information at the moment about that. So in terms of kind of just going down the list here, the Conservation Advisory Council did unanimously vote to move for the Climate Smart Communities Pledge and to ask the town board if they would be willing to entertain that resolution. That's a miscommunication and it didn't make it on this month's agenda, but if you would consider it for December. In essence, the Climate Smart Communities program is a Department of Environmental Conservation program. Really, climate aside or whatever monikers they've decided to label this program with, it really is at its fundamental base, I think, a resiliency program to essentially extend planning capacity to smaller municipalities who essentially need the help. And for us, we have a newly formed Conservation Advisory Council whose scope of work and mission includes the completion of the natural resources inventory. And the great thing about the Climate Smart Communities is that we can receive free technical assistance from Cornell Cooperative Extension to be able to do that work, which would be fantastic. That frees me up to be able to really focus on other things while they're in the background, collecting shape files and running doing various geoprocessing tasks for us. in an effort to complete that. And they've also set a recurring meeting for the first Thursday of the month at 6:30, so it's nice we have a set meeting time and date. And to that end, we also, planning board is going to stay at one meeting during 2020. So will help with the cycle of applications and due dates, and just have a bit more of a kind of set process around that. And we will also ask you in the coming year, as part of the organizational resolutions, to help with the establishment of a project review committee. This is essentially an effort to have our professionals on staff and consultants meet with developers and applicants and their consultant team and review projects. We did something very similar recently where we, for instance, the Lake Forest major subdivision is being considered by the planning board now for final plat approval. And we recently were able to convene all of us together and have our stormwater engineering, planning, legal, and then also the development team really be in the same room and be on the same page about developments going forward. And we'll also, Sue has graciously voluntold, is that the thing?
That phrase has become very popular.
Yeah, I'm feeling agreed, shall we say, to assist with that, and that will help us actually basically have minutes from that, so it'll be very clear essentially what was agreed on in terms of what would be expected from the applicant as far as the final submission. Sometimes it can get confusing if you're all just kind of in a meeting and no one's really taking notes about what was agreed on in terms of, for instance, stormwater or something like that. So this will be really helpful. And so I'll have more information to you about that. But I did speak about it with the planning board, and they were excited about the idea, I think. So there's a lot. But the Ag District review is coming up through the end of the year. We're going to have a joint meeting on Monday with the planning board, with the Ag Committee and the planning board. And just a couple more things. And another thing in the new year, and I have mentioned the Parks and Trails, Parks, Recreation and Trails master plan. I think I sent that RFP around to you, the draft, to take a look at. I also took the liberty of sending it to Mike Smith at the town of Ithaca, who worked on their Parks and Recreation master plan some years ago, as well as Nick Hemmold at County Planning, to get their feedback on what we could do better with that. And we got great comments back from them. And so in the new year, another thing to consider as part of the organizational resolutions would be the establishment of a Parks, Recreation, and Trails Committee to help us walk through this master plan. It could be essentially a short-term commitment, maybe 2 years, to follow the plan through the end. We're thinking landscape architect, liaison from the planning board, somebody from the Village Greenway Committee, somebody from Lansing Central Schools, a private recreation, also someone from utilities, to kind of help us really inform this plan and really make it the best we can. So I'll have that coming for you in next month or in January for the organizational resolutions. And I could go on and on, but finally, we did prepare an initial scope of work for the land use audit. We're about to, I hope anyway, maybe Greg can speak to this, but we're hoping to close up soon on the codification effort. So as you know, we've been working with General Code for some time to try to get the E-code essentially up and running online. So it seemed like also a good opportunity to just go through and ask a bunch of questions about the land use regulations and ask essentially ourselves questions about it. And I also asked the planning board to complete a capacity self-assessment to kind of see what they thought about an undertaking of that sort. They seem to be receptive to that. So anyway, that's plenty. And I also sent around a piece about where the solar conversations have been. I emailed that to you on October 10th. I didn't get any questions back about it, but I'm happy to just kind of keep sending around these informational tidbits if that was helpful for you. So, yeah.
Can I ask a point of clarity? You're going to go ahead and send out the letters to solicit interest from those entities?
Yeah, that was the idea to, I just prepared a letter similar to that, and I can send it around to the town board if you'd like to see it, is similar to the one for Conservation Advisory Council that says, we'd like you to join the Conservation Advisory Council. And if you have names or information you'd like me to know about that, we had some ideas from preliminary conversations with Pat, with Katrina and Guy, to kind of get a sense of what the categories of person would be: landscape architects, planning board liaison, and things of that nature. So yeah, that was my intention, to circulate it to the town board to see if they had any concerns about that letter or questions, additions, and go from there.
So will the letter go out before December or in December?
Yeah, I mean, it could. I just wanted to talk with town board, just and then send it to you this evening. I can do it right now. If that seems reasonable.
You're also going to do the JCAP resolution.
Yes, that is, that's before you again because of a little tidbit from JCAP. As you may recall, the Justice Court personnel did not want to speak with me because I was not a court-appointed person, so that was kind of a funny miscommunication. But nevertheless, so they wanted to see the words of Lansing Town Court rather than Town Justices. So, so anyway, so everything about the resolution is the same, but they were very encouraging. So they wanted to know a little bit more about the piece with the opening of the walls in the front. They wanted to see if we could get a number on that or an estimate on that, because they wanted to increase the amount of the grant, because if it was a $60,000 project, say, the court could get half of that. So then the municipality chips in the other half. So they were really encouraging. So thanks for considering that, and sorry for that.
I'm currently working on that, by the way.
Oh, fantastic, yes. And Doug has really graciously offered to come up with a scope of work for that estimate, which will be really helpful in helping us secure that grant. So those are the last two things we need, and I think we're in good shape.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions or comments for CJ? Thank you. I guess we'll jump in with you now. And we did talk a bit about the concerns about the bridges and emergency equipment, so thank you for working on that so fast.
But there's something going on with the bridges?
Pardon?
There's something going on with the bridges?
It is so silly.
Nice.
Okay.
I will not take all 3 pages of this very long report. There's just a lot going on. So I'll start. Again, thank you for having me. I also want to thank the county's public information officer, Marshall Lynch. Her reports I draw from very liberally. I also, I may not, who knows what's going to happen in December, so I got to run through some things because I may be here, maybe not. I think I will be. Well, December's a busy month. People.
Okay.
So I just wanted to tell you, Marcia is retiring. Lansing, she is not going to be our public information officer. She's retiring at the end of the year. I want to thank her for all her great service. If I give this report in December, which I expect to, obviously, I'll thank her again, but wanted to not miss this opportunity. Also, I wanted to thank Katrina Bingworth. Thank you very much for your service. I write in here about how when you serve in public office, obviously, you want to leave a legacy, and I think you've done that. I really do. I appreciate the work on Salt Point that you've done. I think, you look back on something like how I improved the town and what did I get done. I think you really have something there that you can point to and say, it's better than when I left. And I was thinking a lot about this just because of the recent elections, obviously. I want to congratulate Andrew for winning her election. Obviously, we have a new person coming on, which is going to be exciting. Ed, congratulations to you for winning. Really great. It was a great election. I thought we had a lot of good people running, and I think that really speaks to the strength of the town, too, that so many people want to serve in these offices and really make the town a better place. So congratulations to everybody. Again, just great campaigns all the way around. So also, now we can get into county news. The legislature passed a 5-cent fee on paper bags. So when we decided to ban plastic bags, I explained why paper bags were not actually any better than plastic, single-use plastic bags, and in fact, were probably worse than single-use plastic bags. I made the argument as best I could. People agreed, didn't agree, I don't know. But anyway, we banned the plastic bags statewide, so that happened anyway. But yeah, these paper bags are still pretty terrible. So we're going to impose a 5-cent fee. I find the most effective way to cut down on all bags is if the person just asks you if you want a bag, because most of the time people say no, you get one item. But so there will be a 5-cent fee on paper bags. We're going to waive it for certain groups of people, people on SNAP, things like that. And it's really to encourage people to use reusable bags. So hopefully people will start remembering those and start going and using them. At Wegmans, I did my own little, they've already started this. I did my own little kind of scoping out, and it looks like about 50% of the people are using reusable, about 50% are using paper. I talked to Barb Ekstrom. She said that over the next 2 years, they expect that to be about 75-25, 75% using reusable. So we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see what Target and other stores like that do, because they use a lot of plastic bags.
Mike, I just want you to know these groups in the county, there are still people who like to sew, and there's groups making bags for people who go to food banks and food distribution. And I thought that was really good.
No, it is, especially if you use scrap material, because actually the cotton bags are actually the worst. Because if it's a brand new virgin cotton bag, it takes like 1,000 uses to equal one plastic bag. I'm not going to go over the whole thing.
They're all using
right, they use
material.
scrap material. So yeah, I mean, you definitely reuse, recycle. No, that is, it's a good idea.
Pant legs are the best.
What?
Blue jeans.
Oh, yeah, the blue
With pant
jeans.
legs. So all your old blue jeans, don't throw them away. We got use for them.
Well, eventually.
So quickly on this issue, is there going to be some kind of system for, obviously I have a store and I'm interested, how is this fee going to be paid? Do we pay it quarterly? Is there going to be some program in the county that sets this up?
That is a very good question. We are working on that now. So
You've got a few months before it gets implemented.
yes, we do. So it'll probably be run through solid waste, or yeah, I think it's going to be run through solid waste, but it's going to be acted in conjunction with New York State's Bag Waste Reduction Act, and they've already kind of got a system in place, so we're going to adopt that system. But the money goes to the state, and then they send it back to us. I know. But the state is actually going to use it for something good. They're going to use it for land protection, things like that.
And some of it's going to buy bags for...
Yes, we get, I think, 2 cents back out of the 5 cents. And then that'll go to the 5 bags that we can then distribute.
I'm just worried that it's going to take time to tell the merchants how to do all this, because this all starts in March.
Yes, yes, but we are going to be out there doing it. So that's what we're working on now. And yes, we will get the store owners involved, don't worry. But some bags we've been exempt, so we'll tell people what are exempt to. Some heavier bags are exempt, it's kind of strange. Anyway. So yeah, that'll begin March 1st, 2020. So we do have some time, but not a lot of time, so about 3 months. Next page. Like I said, we get a lot. We also are setting a public hearing. This is kind of a big deal. We're going to take comment on the residency requirement for public officers. So some people don't have to live in the county, like some sheriff's deputies, for example. They don't have to live here. They can live in an adjoining county and still work here. The problem we're having is, and every county's having this, it's not just us. There are people that we want to hire for department heads, and we have this requirement that you have to live in the county. I mean, obviously elected officials do, and people, the sheriff, he's elected, he has to live in the county. But department heads, they have had to as well. The problem is, we have, say, a deputy, a deputy who we think can move up. We've made it so this person can move up to department head. Are we really going to ask them to upend their whole life and move into the county? We don't think that's particularly a good idea. We're going to lose a lot of good people trying to do that. So we came to somewhat of a compromise, and this is what's going to be heard at the public hearing, is that we can do waivers. So you say, okay, listen, I live in Cortland County. I want to be the department head, but I'm taking care of my elderly parents. I can't literally move for this job. we can declare some waivers. You know, the situation has to be pretty good. It can't just be like, oh, I just need to save money. It's got to be, well, yeah, my kids are in school, or like I said, the parents, or something like that. And we understand people are married too. And, you know, maybe their husband or wife or their partner is working in Syracuse and they are working here and you want to meet in the middle. So we're going to have a waiver kind of situation where we can address those kind of issues. Some people don't like it though, because granted, you know, department heads are making $105,000 that you're then sending out of the county presumably. So there is, that does not fall on deaf ears. We understand that we want these people involved in our communities, but we also have to understand that there are situations that we won't be able to do that. Also, we adopted the 2020 budget. We're all set there. It's a $193.5 million budget. It includes $93 million in net local spending. The nice thing is your tax rate's going to go down. The tax levy is going to go up, but the tax rate's going to go down because obviously assessments have gone up a little bit. We were able to stay under the cap, which is always good. If you want to see it, you can go to tompkinscountynewyork.gov/CTUI/admin/2020 budget. And you can read all about it. And we didn't have a lot of input from the public on it, so I'm going into the premise that there was nothing in there egregious to people. Also, by unanimous vote, we decided to support the Successful Community Housing Development Fund. So this is decade-old. It has been a great success for us building affordable housing. You know, we've built a number of units using this, 654 units actually to be exact, for affordable housing over the last decade. And that's been leveraging approximately $177 million in additional program funds. So a small investment on our part, we get a lot of money from the state and from the federal government to build these. The key to this program actually is it's a partnership between Cornell, the city, and the county. Whenever we can do that, it's great because we're leveraging money from Cornell. They just decided to up it to $100,000. The city has committed another $100,000 for 2020, and we've committed over $100,000 for this program as well. So we're all kind of working in tandem to make this program work. We also adopted a new local law that enacts new real property tax exemption. I know Ed and I had talked about this earlier. The law is going to provide an 8-year tax exemption. It phases in increased value for capital improvements made to 1- and 2-family residential properties. This has already existed in the city, I think in the town of Dryden, so it was brought to our attention that why doesn't the county do it? So we are. So we passed that. I did add an addendum to the report because I didn't want to take all night here from Jay Franklin. And Jay kind of lays out what this is going to mean. So if you have any questions, just refer to the report. And this is a direct quote from Jay on how that's going to work. Lastly, the Legislature's Health and Human Services Committee received a report from the task. We have a task force working on this for the past 6 months. We, a while ago under Frank Krupa, we merged the department head of the health department and the mental health. The two kind of work in concert. And Frank was able to handle both positions. So we kind of merged it. We had a task force looking at this. The task force has come back and said, you know what, even if it wasn't Frank in that position, we think that role should be under one hat. So we're going to move ahead with that. It's a proposed resolution. The Health and Human Services Committee, they're going to be looking at that. And now it's going to come forward to the full legislature. And if it passes, we expect that to go into place July 1st, 2021, it looks like, to have a merged department. That's no later than that. So that'll be kind of a big change. That got some pushback from some people when we first decided to do it, thinking that the two should be kept separate, that the one would almost become like the redheaded stepchild of the department. And I think that Frank has handled it well, definitely the right person at the right time to make sure that that didn't happen. So now that you have a fully functioning health department that also has a pretty big mental health component to it. So. And that is my report. And you probably have questions. And I didn't touch on the bridges yet, but we can talk about that unless you already did.
No, you did a great job getting back accurate information in one day. Much appreciated.
Well, it's, again, if you ever have any questions, Emma's been sending me, she initially sent me an email about Ludlow Road and trucks on Ludlow Road. Lansing Road. And I keep following, well, no wonder I'm not getting any answers. Been following up on that too about trucks on Lansing Road. So the gentleman that's asking the questions, we are following up on it. It's like the road department is on it. It's interesting. He's saying there's a lot of through traffic, a lot of truck through traffic on it. So I talked to Cardinal about it, and other people who own big trucks, and we'll figure out the situation up there. We have a pretty good head of roads in Mr. Smith, and he's on top of it, so we're working.
Any questions or comments from Mike? The board, I hope you have this packet, this piece of information. And it might be something that we may want to consider, and we can get Jay Franklin, at least I'll ask him if he's available at our December meeting to ask some questions on this, see what the parameters are for this, if you do want to consider passing it, then maybe we pass it at our January meeting. Or if you're comfortable moving forward, we can do it at our December meeting, or we can not do anything.
I'm interested in passing this, but I'd also be interested in looking at the whole list of exemptions. This is like 40 or 50 different exemptions for property taxes, and each municipality's got a different list of which ones they do. And I think it would be good for this board to go over each one with Jay and kind of talk over which ones we should do, because I don't think we've done an overall review like that in a long time. And it'd be just good to look and see what the possible exemptions are and what we're doing and what we could do and decide through the whole list.
That should be not at a regular meeting.
So I think
we
what-
went over with TCOG, and it's not a lot of
It's
time.
not a lot.
It's not a lot of time.
So I think what we'll do, if that's agreeable to the rest of the board, is that we'll put this on our homework assignments for 2020. We'll start the ball rolling, at least maybe with a conversation with Jay at our next meeting, to say, okay, so we can frame this meeting and what we're trying to accomplish. And it might be the fact that there are some things in there we may not want, or there might be some things in there that are not in there that we may want to add. So I would probably give this maybe 3 or 4 months to work through and go from there, but at least we'll have a good start, or hopefully, if Mr. Franklin's available. If he's not available at our next meeting, perhaps we in January. Okay? If nothing else, thank you.
Thank
No
you,
problem.
Michael.
No problem. And I think it always surprises me with assessment how many people don't do capital projects to their house because they think they're going to get dinged on assessment. I'm thinking this is, I'm hoping that this kind of somewhat addresses that.
Come on, like, we know the county, we get that anyways.
Well,
Let's be honest.
we try not to. Talk to Jay. See how it is. All right, well, thank you very much.
14 in your packet is the engineer's report. Moving on to item 15, which is the agriculture committee report. Now we're moving on to item 16, resolution honoring Peter Wheeler.
I'll second it.
Andrew Benson,
Yes.
Katrina Binkowitz.
Yes.
Doug Day.
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore.
Yes.
Edward Levine.
Yes. Joe, would like to read it?
Whereas Peter Wheeler was born into slavery in New Jersey in 1789, and whereas Peter Wheeler at the age of 11 was separated from his family and sold to Gideon Morehouse and moved to Ludlowville, New York, and whereas Peter Wheeler suffered brutal treatment under the hands of his slave owner Gideon Morehouse, and whereas Peter found support and aid from his abolitionist neighbors in Ludlowville, including Thomas and Henry Ludlow, 2 of the brothers for whom Hamlin is named. And whereas, with the assistance of Gideon Morehouse's daughter, daughter of his Ludlowville owner, Peter Wheeler escaped from bond to slavery and went on to live as a free man. And whereas, upon review and discussion of the matter, the town board of the town of Lansing hereby resolves as follows. The town of Lansing honors Peter Wheeler's memory. The town of Lansing condemns the history of slavery in our community and throughout the world. And this recognition will be etched on a plaque and be placed in Ludlowville Park.
So, no picture?
I'm hoping to get a picture as part of it. We're going to discuss that later in the meeting as to what we're going to do for the plaque.
I meant he's not here for the picture.
That's true.
No, he is not here for the picture.
I think we should still give a standing ovation, though. In the spirit. Right? Good.
Thank you.
I'd like to move the next resolution, appointing Lisa Campbell as town representative to the Thomas County Youth Services Board.
I'll second that.
Andrew Benson,
Okay.
Andrew Benson,
Yes.
Katrina Bickowitz.
Yes.
Doug Davis.
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore.
Yes.
Edward Levine.
Okay, item 18, resolution. Oh,
I wanted to talk about this just a little bit.
Go ahead.
Remember I said something about that? Lisa Campbell has, I don't know, sent me a couple emails, and then she actually came in the office the other day, and I think she's a very good advocate for different programs, community programs that are out there, and she's wondering about getting some of this information on our website so that people are aware of it. And we did talk about it, trying to figure out where to put it on there. I talked to Dan about a couple places that there's not room to put them there without changing other things, so we have to figure something out. But I guess before we go any farther, I need to find out from the board if this is something that's allowable to put on our website, different events like maybe where the food pantry is and what their schedule is, and let's see, maybe some health department things, maybe things about Cornell Cooperative Extension. You know, we were thinking of maybe having a community resources section, an events section that's linked to the calendar, and having things.
That's already in place.
That part is, the link to the calendar is. Yeah, I saw that on there. And then maybe, you know, things about maybe a youth section, maybe a seniors section.
Nice idea.
And so on. But like I said before, I tried to do anything else, I thought, well, this isn't really my decision, so I better ask the
If I may make a suggestion, you've gotten suggestions in the past from people. There's no reason why you can't be one of those people also, or any of us, to simply give it to the committee, the website committee, as our website evolves, and find out what more concerns are, see how we can implement that. So maybe you could put all this information down on an email and send it to, I think it's Joe, Pat, and Dan. And start to tabulate this, because I would imagine our website might not look the same a year from now or 2 years from now that we start to get this thing rolling. And we find more people using it, more programs involved, there's no reason why we can't be involved with it.
I have two things to add. One is Aunt Jenna, because she's the czar now.
Yes, she is, she's the fourth, that's right, she's the fourth person, absolutely.
So she really has final say on issues like this. But the other thing I wanted to say was that when I started the first redo, which was before the big one was redid, I looked at a lot of municipal websites, and a lot of them have these things, even tourism things on their sites to bring, you know, potential new residents to get their interest in moving to the communities and so on. So this would not be, you know, out of the ballpark of what's already done in other municipalities around the country.
I would agree with that. I've seen the same thing.
But I would also recommend is that we give this a time period, maybe 3 months, 4 months, and accumulate with provide suggestions, unless there's so we can do this right away. Maybe we can just tweak a little bit of it.
Well, it'll take, I mean, Lisa and our discussion, it will take a while to, like you say, get it all together, figure out what is she really looking for and all that.
Okay.
But she is a good advocate for information
Yes.
sharing.
But if she has the information and doesn't have a way to get it out to the
Yeah.
public, it's kind of points.
Okay.
So send it to those 4 people. Okay.
You know, and if there's other constructive criticisms or suggestions or remarks, I would also send those forward.
Okay.
That's agreeable with this board?
Yep.
Fine with me. Just a suggestion. Okay. Good idea. Anything else, Mr. Munson?
No, that's it.
Okay. Too fast here. I'm going to go too slow here. Okay, so we're up to number 18, I believe. Resolution in order approving dedication and laying out of Amusement Lane as a public highway.
Move that.
Second.
Andrew Benson,
Yes.
Katrina Binkowitz.
Yes.
Doug Day,
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore,
Yes.
Edward Levine.
Yes. Item 19, resolution supporting the Justice Court Assistance Program, 2019-2020 grant application for the Lansing Town Court. I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Andrew Benson,
Yes.
Katrina Binkowitz.
Yes.
Doug Day,
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore,
Yes.
Edward Levine.
Yes. Item 20, resolution approving license agreement for siting a TCAT bus shelter near Town Hall.
I have a question about that, and I will move it.
I'll second it.
Okay, this is the part of the discussion. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I saw this resolution as a draft, I assume, and on item 7, it talks about TCAT being responsible for site plan, zoning approvals and stuff. And I just wanted to add that NYSEG's got an easement over there, and probably should be mentioned either in that paragraph or separate of approvals from NYSEG, because NYSEG has to approve these projects, and I don't want that to fall back on the town.
Just can I say in the first paragraph?
I'm not talking about what's in our packet, I'm talking about the license agreement.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, you have any thoughts on this?
Well, I'm not sure what the issue is.
They've got an easement over it, so we have to get their permission to build, and if TCAT wanted to build a bigger, different structure, they might need to get TCAT's approval, or NYSEG's approval for that different structure, and I don't want us to be responsible for getting that approval, I want it to be on TCAT clearly.
Okay, TK, my understanding is NYSEG's already issued an approval, and that in order to increase the size or change what is there, they would have to go through a review process, and we'd have to comply with the overhead wire requirement. 10-foot minimum separation, I think, is the rule. So I think it would already happen, but if you want to say it, I don't have an issue with it.
I just like to keep those things.
Nobody's saying that TCAT's going to agree with that change either. So, you know.
Well, is this a final document, or is this a draft? Because the resolution,
I don't know.
the resolution seems to say that, I think Ed will finalize something with them, so I wasn't clear on that.
Yes.
Resolve, negotiate final terms of such license.
I had two comments on the license agreement. One was whether the town was agreeing to be responsible for the coming and treating of vegetation and removal of trash from the receptacle and removal of snow and ice from the licensed area. And I had in addition to paragraph 12. I don't know where those recommendations stood, but I was asked to prepare something. So I did.
Is this time sensitive?
I don't know.
They would like to install the shelter sooner rather than later.
Well, I think this resolution that we're approving is fine, because it gives Ed the ability to do something similar to what we've been given, I assume. And that Ed can work with TCAT to finalize those couple of points.
Well, you brought up the concern about NYSEG. Would you want to have that clarified first, or we move this back and do it December?
Well, this resolution gives you the ability to negotiate the final terms, so I think we can pass this resolution, and that allows you to work with TCAT, finalize this, and get moving, because I don't want to delay this bus shelter.
But to your point, you were concerned about the easement.
No, I'm just saying that TCAT agrees that they're responsible for dealing with NYSEG.
I'm getting confused here then, because first we're talking about NYSEG and easement.
We did all the negotiations the first round. I'm saying if there's any further, I'd rather have TCAT do it. Which is what paragraph 7 basically says, TCAT's responsible for any negotiations that have to happen with these entities, and I just include NYSEG as one of them.
Cricket?
Wouldn't the town have the option, if TCAT come back and want to do something different, wouldn't the town at that point have the option to say, do what you want to do, but it's up to you to get the approvals?
We can cancel this agreement with, 30 or 60 days notice, I forget what it is, but it's an easy cancellation.
Well, no, that's all I'm marked, I just say, I guess I'm looking at the terms of thinking about to negotiate, like I said, if Ed works with them to negotiate the terms that you're talking, and they say, well, no, passing the resolution is a moot point, because if you can't get the final terms of the resolution, or the agreement made, the resolution really is null and void.
I've been giving Ed my concerns, guys give him some concerns, and would work out what he feels comfortable with NICEAG, and the town would agree to that.
No, that's all I'm saying, is when this started, I just bring that up because I think we had that, at that point, could have had the right just to say to TCAT, well, you give us something from NICEAG, but I think we obviously graciously reached out to NICEAG to kind of get it done, because I think we all saw the benefit of it for our people, so.
I don't really have a problem.
Ed, how do you feel on all this? Do you feel comfortable moving forward and working with TCAT to finalize this?
You have a list of concerns, which I'll be glad to address, and if they say no, then we'll bring it back to the board before we agree to the final terms. Even in there, I think, from your conversation, you want the board to have the approval anyways.
No, I'm actually fine with you doing the final thing.
Okay, that's not what I heard, but that's okay. So you're basically giving me the authorization to negotiate with them, as very similar, you give me the board gives me authority to find funding for water districts, that type of thing also, right? So this is something that doesn't have to come back to the board for approval.
Yeah, I think if you just added, if you were to do it and TCAT was amenable, I think if you just change the first line to say, TCAT is responsible for obtaining any applicable site plan, utility, or other zoning approvals, that's probably broad enough to cover it with one word.
I think that would work.
I think what I suggested in paragraph 12 might be a bigger pill for them to swallow, but you ask them and see what they say.
Well, that's how we negotiate. Absolutely.
So I'm gonna call them tomorrow morning. What am I saying again?
I'll send it to you, but yeah, I'll send you a red line, because I think as long as the town's willing to do the trash and snow removal, that would be sort of you guys, right? Have you agreed to that?
I thought that fell under like legal services.
It certainly can, but I'm not sure that that would be
No, I
efficient
mean, as
use.
far as snow removal is no big deal, like, obviously, that's done in there anyways, and obviously, Pat's folks take care of the garbage on a regular basis, you know, so we're all good with that, sure.
Just know that Casey being volunteered.
Yeah, voluntold.
Yeah.
So, Owen Lott, but that might be another area with the snow.
Owen's an ace. He's an ace. He just can't get enough. That's what happens when you leave early, Owen. All right, so if we found our comfort zone, and we have a motion in a second to move forward with the recommended adjustments.
But the adjustments are only on this license agreement, there's no adjustment to the resolution itself?
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure on that. Andrew Benson?
Yes.
Katrina Binkowitz?
Yes.
Doug Day?
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore?
Yes.
Edward Levine?
Yes. Item 21, resolution approving highway equipment purchase or replacement vehicle and equipment in accord with 2020 budget and capital replacement plans. I'll move. Any further discussion? You got the second? Deb?
Katrina, is who I heard.
Okay. Any further discussion? Mrs. Munson?
Andrew Benson?
Yes.
Katrina Binkowitz?
Yes.
Doug Day?
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore?
Yes.
Edward Levine?
Yes. Item 22, resolution requesting reduction of speed limit on Atwater Road.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? What's it going? Oh, very good. Yeah.
Just go to whatever the state decided to.
This has been tried before.
I think it's 45 now, and they wanted to 35.
45? Try again.
Can't vote. Joe, you made the motion on that, correct?
Sure.
And Andrew, you made the second. Andrew Benson?
Yes.
Katrina Binkowitz?
Yes.
Doug Day?
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore?
Yes.
Edward Levine?
Yes. Item 23, resolution and public interest order setting public hearing for Town Barn Road Solid Water District Improvement Project connecting and eliminating dead-end water mains in Highway Barn at 4 corners. I'll move.
I'll second it.
I have questions. So this is going to come at no cost to the town because the water district has the $100,000 in its budget right now, or in its line items right now? I'm confused between this one and the next one, in which we're bonding something for the water district fund, and we're saying this one's not costing the town anything, and so I need some clarification.
You got your map?
Matt.
Map. Is there a map right here?
Water District 5 is a separate district than the consolidated water
All
district.
right, so I'm going to try to explain this, and Cricket, jump in if I
Okay.
slide. So the consolidated water district number 5 starts on Armstrong Road. You got your map here?
Yeah, I got my map here.
Okay, now you're not going to see Armstrong Road, but if you hold it up this way, okay, Armstrong Road's down here,
Okay.
okay? So it's going to go towards Crossroads on Trueville Road. And then you see about a third, you see a line crosses, and then it goes from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. Then it goes all the way down, correct? Okay, so part of that is consolidated water district number 5, and we had to move from one side to the other because there was natural gas lines and phone lines and trees and everything else, okay? The part where you have the town barn, that is the part that we're agreeing to right now, because that is the benefit district. That is not the consolidated water district. The consolidated water district didn't need that part to make it theirs. But what happens is that down by Crossroads is the highest pressure area of the whole system until you get to the reduction. It means that pops, and you don't have a way to divert water around that. All the people beyond that are going to be without water.
Right.
And you can just imagine, it always happens, never on a Sunday or on a Monday at 10 o'clock, always happens, worst case scenario when these things pop. And the congestion down there is going to be a nightmare. So consequently, at least we get water, we can divert it.
I understand why we want the project, I'm just trying to understand the funding.
No, the reason is because you have two separate ones. If this was just consolidated water district number 5, we would not be having this conversation about this resolution right now. But because we have this unique situation where we want to make as many loops as possible, so that in case there's a break, we can still funnel the water. That's why this resolution is first, and then of course the consolidated water district number 1, which will be out of the debt service paid by the people on Trueville Road. That'll be the next one.
How does this get paid for?
This gets paid for the exact same way that the Trip Hammer Road improvement got paid for, out of the big fund of consolidated water district money. It's an upgrade. It's an upgrade. But it's a benefit district.
Right, which obviously the fund is very healthy to take care of that.
It's got a lot of money in it, I
Yes,
saw that.
but this is kind of a vital piece to the system moving forward, especially as we look to outreach to Buck Road, money development over here and stuff. You know, that intersection of Trip Hammer Road really, if we have an issue there, it's serious problem.
I understand why we want it, I'm just trying to follow the money and where it's coming from and why it's coming that way, all that. That's my concern, is just to understand that part. And that wasn't clear from these resolutions, so I'm getting that part.
That's a valid question. That's the reason why. You have a certain pot of money that goes for the water district itself, which that debt service is paid for the residents. Then you have this other one, we have improvement district, replacement, or whatever, upgrade, to do that. And that's where the other pot of money comes in. That's where your O&M comes in, to fill the pot, so that when you can do these improvements, you don't have to put any more on the water district.
Essentially, it's a reserve fund that we're applying from.
You can say that, and that would probably be correct, yeah. I won't argue with you on that one.
Okay.
No, you're probably right. They just put it in O&M, they don't really put it in any specified reserve, but yes, you're absolutely right.
Okay. Thank you, that clarifies it.
I do, okay.
Well, we'll get through it.
Not more than ish. So, any other questions for this one? Now, Ms. Munson?
Andrew Benson?
Yes.
Katrina Binkowitz?
Yes.
Doug Date?
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore?
Yes.
Edward Levine?
Yes. We also have the second public hearing.
It's all set in here, 6:31 on December 18th.
No one mentioned that, I want to make sure. So 6:31 on December 18th, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I guess we go to item number 24. Anyone else like to go to item number 23? No, do we?
No.
Okay. 24, resolution authorizing the issuance of up to $214,000 in serial bonds of the town to finance the cost of acquiring and constructing the improvements constituting Consolidated Water District Extension Number 5, Hoover Road.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Munson?
Andrew Benson,
Yes.
Trina Binkowitz.
Yes.
Doug Dave.
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore.
Yes.
Edward Levine.
Yes. Item 25, before I go further on that, are we comfortable moving forward with this association agreement, or do you want to wait until the summer?
I'm comfortable. I think it's right.
Okay, I mean, you authorized us to negotiate it, it was approved by the Highway Association, but I want to make sure we all have busy schedules these last month or so. I don't want anybody to feel as though they're being pushed through, okay? All right, so item 25, resolution accepting and approving the execution of updated 2019 to 2022 Highway Association agreement. I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Munson?
Andrew Benson.
Yes.
Trina Binkowitz.
Yes.
Doug Dave.
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore.
Yes.
Edward Levine.
Yes. Item 26, once again, same question. Are we comfortable moving this one forward now, or do you still want to discuss?
I want to discuss some added language and changes.
Then let's just hold off until,
I'm fine with that. We can discuss it all now, and then, or we discuss.
or we can discuss it via emails. I know you sent one at 3:05, and I don't want to feel rushed about this. I appreciate you looking at it, trying to get it in. We can wait till, do those via email back and forth?
I think that's fine, I just want to, yeah.
Okay.
I know my comments came in late, but I think they make a difference.
Well,
I think the one thing I would like to discuss here is the idea of changing it from just a, what they call a workplace violence issue to a workplace violence harassment bullying, because I think that they're all kind of elements of the same thing, and I'd like to expand the idea to include those. And I'd just like to get the board's idea while we discuss it back and forth.
I would like to have training done for all three at the same time. I think we can lump that all together as this evolves. I think we also talk about other things we can change in the policy as far as who the people they can go to. Important that may not be their immediate superior or supervisor, whichever we want to use. Those are, once again, one person's opinion. I think those are comfortable additions, in my opinion, but we can discuss this more. If other people want to add more stuff, they can do it now, or they can go back and forth with an email if they feel comfortable with it.
How is this going to consolidate? Are you willing to consolidate these ideas into another draft?
Well, what it is that if you talk about bullying, can we find a teachable, because we're already doing our sensitivity training. Do you do the sensitivity training and all that in one, or do you have to do two different trainings, which is fine, we did it already. This is just a brainstorm session. This isn't trying to find clarity tonight. But as you move forward and all these things you're trying to incorporate, okay, how do you put those all in one if they're out there? If they're not out there, maybe you can find somebody who actually can give that presentation, whether you hire somebody for that with our own policy.
I suggest that you and Joe get together
Yeah.
and come up with an updated
Yeah.
version and send it around to us.
Yeah. Okay. My whole thing is that, once again, how do you implement it? Okay, is there training out there for that? And is there training out there for that is acceptable by whoever, was it NYSERDA, whatever it is, that does this? No. NYPO. I'm sorry.
Section 27B.
Thank you. That's acceptable under that whole thing, because we had to do it for workplace violence. We also had to do it for sexual harassment.
But in the workplace violence one, there was actually a section on bullying.
So I think if
We
we
already
look
had the training.
so maybe it's just part of the wording.
Once again, we checked with Charmaine on it, but we already had it.
That's a good point. And also the fact, getting into that, who do you go to?
I think that's very important. I think that's key to opening people up and feeling free to say I'm having an issue.
Did you send out a list of anyone?
I heard Guy raising his hand.
Guy has.
Well, we discussed this last month, and this change was only to update who you report to.
Right.
And the rest of it was going to be a further discussion of further updates, maybe updating the policy, integrating sexual harassment and workplace violence together. So you may recall that we had the discussion, and I said, well, if somebody can't report to their immediate supervisor, then they report to a town board member who must then report to the rest of the town board, and everyone said, that's it, that's the solution. So this piece was only supposed to adjust that one little item because we had a hole in the policy. Our existing reporting form still says that you go to Sharon Bowman. So if you want to leave it where it is and work on it next month or January or February, that's fine. But this update wasn't designed to completely integrate or expand the state mandate in the labor law on workplace violence. There's website after website page on this. It was just to update how you do the reporting, just that one little change.
I think that's important enough to say, why don't we pass the change so that we've got a different chain of command, and then Ed and I are going to get together and maybe include you on some of that discussion.
Well, that can be a further discussion.
Yeah. Right.
We can pass this right now.
We can pass this now and fix that issue, but I think there's other things we want to fix as well, and we're not on that.
Well, one of the things,
Pass
is
this
to-
now.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
pass this now, I think we're actually going to go.
There's nothing wrong with further discussion.
Mhm.
This is something you can do right now, this is up to date with what we've got.
Well, it was just the one thing from last month, where,
Right.
what do you do if the person who you're supposed to report to is A, no longer here, or B, the person that you're actually complaining about? We don't have good guidance. So that was the one change that was implemented now, and then other changes were going to come. But I think it was the 2020 work plan was something about putting it there.
Right.
Yes.
But I just wanted, you can hold on it if you want, but who you report to and how it gets to the town board and the threat assessment team was what the goal of this change was. It wasn't intended to ever be global or fix every little thing that might be on the table.
Okay.
You can put that on our homework assignment for 2020.
So I'll move this resolution.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion?
I'll erase that big X I already put on this. Andrew Benson?
Yes.
Katrina Binkowitz?
Yes.
Doug Day?
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore?
Yes.
Edward Levine?
Yes. Item 27, approve.
Doug DeSapio?
Yes. You want to second it, please?
Sure. Yeah.
Any further discussion?
Andrew Benson?
Yes.
Katrina Binkowitz?
Yes.
Doug Day?
Yes.
Joseph Wetmore?
Yes.
Edward Levine?
Yes. Board member reports. I think for 5 minutes. Joe, you want to start?
Sure. Tompkins County Council of Governments, they're putting together different models for doing planning support for towns. These are ranging from subsidizing some county staff time to working on specific projects that towns give them. They're putting this program together. It's going to be really helpful for us, whichever implementation program they put together. So we're looking for that for next year. We got a nice presentation from District Attorney Van Houten, talking about some of the upcoming changes, bail reform and discovery reform. Discovery reform is going to really get his office more. I can get more details about that if people are interested in. CJ went to the IO meeting and the Transportation Council meetings and gave reports on that. Planning board, I just like to emphasize the next planning board meeting that's coming up because this is going to be talking about the county designated agricultural districts, and I think it would be good for board members to come and listen to that discussion between the planning board and the ag committee. This will affect the ag district changes that will be coming up. This board is not going to be part of that. That's a county designation, but it's still good to get caught up on that.
It's this Monday, right?
November 25th, yeah.
I will not make it, that'll be my last day of work. But I will get information. Can it be taped?
Maybe if you say pretty please.
Yeah? Got one more in yet?
Probably.
Well, I believe Sue records them all, right, on her recorder?
Yeah.
Anyways, it would be
Yeah.
recorded.
I can listen to the recording now.
I can,
Well, thank you.
tell you too.
You can still tape it if you want to. I know you love doing it.
Unless they're quite a library. Okay, sorry, cut into your 5 minutes, Joe, go ahead.
And I understand from Debbie that there's been some complaints about having trouble finding stuff on the website.
Correct.
And so you're going to get me some of those details, and we'll talk about how we can adjust it so that it's easier.
Correct. The latest one I had was from Lisa Campbell, so when you guys get together with her to work on the community stuff, you can talk to her about that.
Yeah, but you said your office was having trouble finding.
Right, that's, where Jesse and I have a few minutes, and that's not going to happen right away. So.
I understand. When you get us a list, we can try to figure out how to
Yeah.
make those changes.
Okay.
Excellent, thank you. And that's all I got.
Well, congratulations.
Just quickly, the Lansing and Services meeting is tomorrow night, so I don't have anything on that. And CJ talked about the conservation advisory committee. It's a good committee. I like being the representative to it, and I'm completely in support of the energy smart communities. I think that's going to be really, really good for us. That's about it.
Okay, good. Like I think I mentioned before, just working on trying to get an estimate of time and material for the entrance. Other than that, I've been with the board meeting. Well, we have that. You got me on that one. Be sharper than that. All right, that's all I got.
There was no ZBA meeting, so anything to report on that. And Salt Point got posted for hunting nicely before. Haven't seen a lot of hunting down there. A couple of drive-throughs that were iffy. But people are mostly respecting it. People who are walking their dogs are either absent or midday. It's not likely to be hunters active, so that's good. Yeah, things are good.
So you also have the postings up on the town land here across.
Correct.
And there's still a coyote concern up there? Ish?
Ish, yes, ish. There's always concern.
Okay, so, let's wrap this up real quick. So CJ and I met with Dave Herrick about the town land across the street, about the traffic study, about some proposed lot changes. Look at the RFP, the lot sizes and everything were just guesstimates done when we had the appraisal done way back when, and there's been some different considerations that I think the board will have to perhaps look at and approve, but it's evolving, and we'll have some suggestions for probably the next meeting. We talked about the sprinkler system, which I think is probably essential. That's another critical, even though it's a big chunk of money. We have the money in our fund balances for that. And that was one of the many positives that came from our discussions with the Highway Association. It was very cordial, very respectful. They appreciate the fact that the board tries to take care of them. Personally, I think that their salaries are in compliance, probably above where they won't have we're being poached, because these people are at a premium right now. It's tough to find good people, and very comfortable with the salary range we have. We can discuss in the future how we want to go about that, but we have 3 years to discuss it also. But overall, I love the fact that when Percy says we're all friends here and we'll be friends when we leave, and he says absolutely. You know, it was all a very good meetings. So, having said that, getting back to the sprinkler system, we hope to have an estimate maybe by the next meeting. I hope I get on that sooner than later. That part of the highway department is not subject to change, so that will not be wasted money. There's some good discussions going on with Gary Bush as far as I think now we're going to be in his wheelhouse. And in defense to Gary, we did not have this is nothing against our previous planning consultant, we did not have anybody as the lead, which we do now, because CJ is the lead. And so she gives the scope of work, as she says, and gives the parameters, and I think that was the critical piece missing. So I'm very confident that we will continue to have a good relationship with Gary Bush. We're meeting Friday, right? Keep pushing that forward. We did discuss the property tax exemption. One thing I'd like to do is also bring back the Economic Advisory Committee for a business type of advisory board, you know, to help people that are looking for businesses in here. How do we get a foothold in here? How do we establish it? That type of thing, give them information. We've done that in the past. I think when we talked about the last project, right, we had that with a bunch of business leaders and also a few board members. So that's something to consider for next year. We've got a couple reach out to CJ and I about starting that up. And the last thing, and I'm not putting the guy on the spot, I hope, but we're talking about a consent agenda. And this is something where if you look at the agenda with the resolutions and say, I'm in favor of this, I'm in favor of this, I'm in favor of this, we don't have to go through this. You just...
I'm totally in favor of this.
This sounds like a very good idea.
I'm going to leave it on a high note. So if you want to just do a little more background real quick, but it cuts down the time.
Right, I mean, the idea of a consent agenda is that if a resolution is ready to be passed, it should be presented and before the board in its final form, so comments, adjustments, whatever happen in advance. Not always possible, and you can always move an item off the consent agenda if it requires discussion, but normally a consent agenda is where you have somewhat, for lack of a better term, administrative or ministerial resolutions, simple approvals for things that are largely done, like they're not necessarily simple, but certain types of resolutions where you're advancing, you have a project that's already approved and now you're advancing, you've approved the project, it's gone to public bid, you're approving the bid, you're approving the construction bid. They're steps that have to be formally taken. So you went through 8 or 9 today, there's a couple that could not be on a consent agenda, like a bond resolution where it has to be voted on separately and have a supermajority. But you could have just had somebody theoretically say, does anyone want to move to approve the consent resolutions? And it would be one approval for all of them. And normally, again, they're more administrative or ministerial. They're not the things. You wouldn't put adopting an updated zoning ordinance on a consent agenda, for example.
And any single board member could pull something off the consent agenda so discussion can happen.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I think that's the key, is we all kind of nod saying, yes, we'll approve this.
How many days we
That's
just...
the efficiency.
Yeah, I've seen this work at other meetings, it takes a lot less time that way.
It does, and it also, for good or for ill, tends to encourage questions and editing to happen before a meeting. Not that new thoughts don't come to mind, not that you always have, 30, regardless of when it hits your mailbox, it assumes that you have the time to do it at that time. If your spouse is sick, or your kid's sick, or you're at the hospital with a broken leg, pretty fair to assume you're not going to see it until before the meeting, if you even make it. So there are things that will be exceptions, but I know, with Deb, she catches a lot of typos and misspellings and stuff and sends them to me, and we adjust and fix stuff back and forth before you guys ever see it. And it makes me look good, so I'm always happy to get the edits. So, stuff like that, like there was a misspelling in the EA and the FEA, in the short form environmental. There was a misspelled word. It's not anything you approve, but it goes out with the notice of intent to the other agencies. Does it really matter? No, but it's nice to have the spelling correct. It makes it professional and it makes the town look good, so thank you. So yeah, I think it's done in a lot of other municipalities, and I think you get enough of these somewhat run-of-the-mill resolutions, for lack of a better term, appointing someone as a drop-in officer, appointing a new employee, where the form of the resolution is already known and everybody's already agreed we need the position filled, it's in our rosters. So I would recommend you try it, see how it works, and experience will tell you what should and should not go on one, and if you can save 10 minutes, save 10 minutes.
We have one more thing to discuss, and this is just groundwork in the work session for plaque discussion. We need to come out with some sort of budget for these plaques. Patrick, can you give us an estimate of what these would cost? Because we're talking $1,000, $500 each. I mean, I don't want to be cheap about it, but I don't want to be extravagant either, where you all of a sudden burn through your whole budget for the year and can't do another well-deserved plaque or something.
Right, I mean, you have raw, I mean, it just depends on what material you want to use. I mean, you can spend anywhere from $100 to $1,200 to $3,000, just depends on the material. It's, you know, if you're going to go high-end and go granite, obviously it's going to cost you more. If you're going to go low-end and go maybe brass or something like that, you know, that's middle of the road, are they going to cost you $700 to $1,200? You know, it just depends on what you want to use. You know, if you use plastic or an acrylic, obviously they're going to be cheaper. They're going to be $300 to maybe $400 or $500. It just depends on what you want to use.
It depends on the size.
That, yeah, I mean, that too. I mean, it's all.
Can you get us some pictures, we can see those, some examples? Are there some out there of different materials or ones we can go look at? The only reason I'm saying is that I don't want to go cheap, but I don't want to go extravagant either, where, because for me, recognizing the person is the most important thing. Making people aware of these accomplishments, whatever is the most important thing. But I don't want to disrespect it by doing it with plastic.
You want something durable.
Exactly.
But not, we don't need all these marble monoliths around here.
I mean, the newest thing that we use most of on our dedications now is an acrylic stone, and it's like a plastic corian-based material, and it holds up well in weather. We can glue it to usually a nice paver stone and secure it that way. The letters are all painted black, and it's very visible and very easily readable.
That's important too.
The font size doesn't have to be huge because you can read it well because the letters are painted black. Those seem to have worked the best for us in the park setting. So, other towns use plaques that go on a tree that cost, $150 that are a round plaque that goes right on the tree itself. It just depends on what you want to use and the size. The size is, I think our basic, most plaques we have are probably 6 by 12 or something like that. That's an average.
The one that's out there by the bus stop, that sign, what is that made out of?
The historical.
Right, historical sign.
That is made out of some sort of metal that I couldn't tell you the exact. Not lead. Some sort of
You had to bring it up, didn't you?
It may be cast iron. I don't know for 100. That they came from the state, so those are what like 1,200. I think that was the
Louise has got a couple of them.
I'm sorry?
Louise has got a couple of them.
Yeah,
So she may know.
Louise,
She
the man
the
who
one
probably
at Asbury
considered
Church,
all
the
those.
old Asbury Church. That Louise placed that. So,
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And she actually got, I think she was involved with the one out here by the barbecue.
So can you do some research for us, Pat? And,
We'll do more research.
can Owen do it? Yeah.
I'll make Owen do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
You might get a report from him.
Which
one? Both of you.
I want to kind of narrow down what Pat's doing though, because I want to emphasize what Ed's saying, is we don't want a cheap plaque. We don't want something that just all look like, we bought it at Kmart and threw it up there quickly. If we're honoring people, we want to honor them in style.
Yeah. So we have some options. The main thing is we have the resolutions, which are there. But from then on, I think in the next few months, we should probably move on the
Concrete
plaques,
policy, yeah.
type of thing. But I think that would be important to at least get an idea, not only for these, but for the future and what your budget wants to be for the year. These recognitions, I think, are important. But on the other hand, we don't want to all of a sudden make it where it's, oh my goodness, we're drawing attention to it for the wrong reasons.
I think the biggest thing is you have to determine what size the board would like for these signs, and then we can go from there. That's, you know, look around the room and pick out a frame size, and then we can, you know, we can go from there.
Well, if you have a freestanding, or if you have it on a gazebo or something, it's gonna draw attention already. Then from there, it might draw attention to people getting the eyesight to see that. That's something that we can discuss later. So food for thought for our next discussions. Do we need to go to executive session for the, I think it falls into this category.
Particular personnel, however that wording is.
Yes, it would be for the leaving to dismissal, removal, promotion, appointment. Okay. Is hiring on here? I hope it's on there. So anyways, I'd like to take a quick 5-minute break. And I'd like to go into executive session. If I may.
So are you going to say you're going into executive session and then take the break, just so I get this corrected?
Yes.
How we doing?
All right.
Okay, so.
So Ed's going in. Who's going to second it?
I was just wondering if she's going to be on board.
Yeah, that's right.
So, wait, whoa. We need a second?
I second it.
Okay.
So, and bring Bronwyn into the executive session.
Okay. And all in favor? Opposed?